And we have Anthony Liguori. Say your last name for me, Anthony.
Liguori.
Anthony Liguori Jr. is on the show. Welcome to the show. Great to have you. So happy to be talking with you tonight, man. You've done so much in your career. You have you're a country music artist, right?
Yes, sir.
You're also an Elvis tribute artist. You're a deacon. You're a songwriter. You've got it all going. I don't think there's not much that you haven't done, right, Anthony?
I don't know, but it's been great, Jimmy. Actually, it's been a great ride, and I hope I got many more years. But yeah, I've been really blessed to have some great things going on in my life, especially with my career and my work as a deacon and different things like as well. So yeah, that's true. Yes.
Right. And you've been singing for a long, long time, right? You started pretty much as a child, right? You had the desire to become a singer and a guitar player, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, actually,
movies with your grandma, right?
yeah. Actually, when I was a little boy, like my mom had this little baby book that came like with a set to keep your birth certificate in and stuff like that. And she used to write. It was a journal. And as far back, she says, even when I was like, a little boy, as soon as I could sing, I was always singing country songs because my dad was a country music fan. So I was always singing, country songs, and I'd always loved music. And then, the Elvis thing happened because, my great-grandmother and my grandmother were watching, Elvis movies on TV. And I remember in particular one time, I think the first one I remember seeing with them was Blue Hawaii. And that really impacted me, like as a probably 7 or 8 year old kid. And then by the time I was 10, for Christmas, I asked for a little portable phonograph record player and Elvis records. And I got them for Christmas, and I was 10 years old at the time. So yeah, it's been a long time.
Well, that's amazing, man. And my co-host is Tom Payne. Tom, say hello to Anthony.
Hi, Anthony. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Great to be with all of you tonight.
Got time? You have a question for Anthony?
Yes, I do. Anthony, if we can continue with the ideas of being an Elvis tribute artist, can you tell us how you walked down that path, how you went down that road? I know you're a fan of Elvis. You talked about your grandmother and your father being fans of Elvis. What kind of guided you to become interested in becoming a tribute artist to Elvis?
Well, like I said, I first started seeing the movies on TV, and you know what? Some people really pan some of the movies, but I thought for what they were great. It was just an avenue for his music, and it was like advertisement in a way. And some of them weren't great, but I love those movies, and that started my really love for Elvis by watching those movies. And early on, I would say about high school, I started putting groups together, and we would do little shows around the area. And of course, we did 50s and 60s type music, but I always did Elvis music. And after around college time, I was in a band that was kind of like, remember Sha Na, a tribute band? Yeah. We were in a band. We had 7 guys in the band. We were very, very similar to Sha Na. And Elvis had just passed, a few years before, and I always thought, I don't know, maybe it was a little too disrespectful to be an Elvis tribute artist, but I would throw a song or two in the show when I was working with that band, and people started really liking it. And I knew that if I really poured it on, I could sound pretty much dead like them, at an early age. So the more people liked it, the more I started incorporating into our shows a bigger segment, a feature segment, maybe a half hour, and then before long it became into a full-blown Elvis tribute with horn sections and the whole thing, 10-piece bands, background singers. That's basically how it evolved, basically just like that. Yeah.
Right. I know you worked with the Hammond brothers, right? Ray Walker's, that's his foster sons, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, Ray is the only survivor left of the Jordanaires, and the bass singer of the Jordanaires. Wonderful guy. And Ray's a great guy, but Ray has been on so many sessions from not only all the Elvis things, but I mean, you talk like Brenda Lee and B.J. Thomas and if you name it, Ricky Nelson. The Jordanaires backed everybody. One time I was in his basement and he had on his computer, he was cataloging all the sessions that he had done, and it was just amazing. But yeah, he was a good friend of Elvis's right to the end, and there was a few left at that point. Yeah, I think 3 or 4 of them were still around when Elvis passed, but Ray's the only one left now. He's a great guy. Yeah, and the Hammond brothers, yeah, they were like foster sons. They came to Nashville. They were kind of like orphaned, and he took them in and taught them all the harmonies. And then when the rest of the Jordanaires didn't want to go out on the road anymore, they would stay in Nashville. Ray would take the Hammond brothers like to Vegas. And you remember Johnny Hara, Elvis impersonator Johnny Hara?
Yes. Yeah, he did
They worked with him at the Silver Dollar for years. Johnny Hara was getting, back in 78 or 79, they'd given him a 5-year contract for like $5 million.
Oh, wow.
To pay them. Yeah, and that was big, for that
I mean,
time.
he had that look too. I mean, he looked like Elvis back in the 76, 77 years. And of course, when they filmed that movie, right? Didn't they film like right in his bedroom? I mean, in the beginning of that movie,
Elvis, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And you really thought when they put those scenes in there, the way they filmed it, that it was really Elvis. Really
yeah. I mean, the voice and everything as he's walking up the stairs, he's talking to Pauline or whatever. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah.
That was great. Tell us about "Rock with You, Baby." Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Well, "Rock with You, Baby," unfortunately, was a great thing that didn't make it through COVID. Okay, we had opened the theater in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where there's tons of theaters. It's like Lancaster is a Amish type community with all the great food and everything. That's why you're from the East Coast. You know about a lot of stuff, sure. I'm sure. But anyway, we opened the theater not too far from the Sight and Sound, which is that great Christian theater.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. We were at the Revere Inn, and it was an old inn that was built in like 1700s. One of the presidents owned it at one time. I forget which one it was. But anyway, we opened a show called Rock with You, Baby, and it was myself and the Hammond brothers, and we were really doing good with it. We had taken a hiatus right after Valentine's Day and headed back to Nashville to do some recording. Jerry Foster, my good friend, who I'll talk about real later, was doing some voiceovers for the show that we could just kind of plug in. And as soon as we got into Tennessee, we heard about this coronavirus. We had no idea what was going on, so right. we got the voiceovers done. But by the time I got back to New Jersey and then to Pennsylvania, we were shut down for almost, I guess, a year and a half. And then after that, it was like 25% could go, and there was no way we could sustain it, And,
I know you also worked with so many great artists as well, right? Like the Marshall Tucker Band, Clint Black, right? Johnny Mathis, Bill Anderson. Tell us about some of those experiences. That had to be really wild.
Yeah, well, the Marshall Tucker Band was a really cool one because my first recording deal was with a company called Lost Gold Records, and they were out of Columbia, South Carolina, and they were near where the Evans Brothers studio was, where Marshall Tucker did all their stuff. It was a really cool studio. Had even a basketball court in there, like when you had some downtime and stuff. Really cool. And I got the opportunity to record, I would say almost a half an album with the Marshall Tucker Band backing me, which is really, it gave it more of an edge than Nashville. Nashville was more the lush steel guitar and the fiddle, and that was more edgy, like guitar was really, really cutting through, and the piano was just all over the place. It was really great. Yeah.
Cool. So awesome. I mean, you work with so many great people. I know I've met Clint Black. What an awesome guy he is.
Yes,
amazing. Yeah. And also I know you've played so many places as far as casinos, right? Cruise ships, all types of clubs. What do you like performing about performing live? What inspires you about performing live on stage?
I think there's nothing like, the feel of having an audience there when you're performing, and also having a live band. Now, I'm not going to knock any Elvis tribute artists or anything, but I'm not a track act. I just don't get into that whole thing,
Right.
No matter how good the tracks are. I mean, I play with my band. If I want to do, 3 guitar solos with my guitar player, or take the saxophone player, take a ride, or whatever it might be. I love that feel, and I love playing live in front of an audience. And I think the rapport with the people, like even as far as like in Nashville, a big thing is called parlor picking. We'll go hang out with maybe 20 different people, and we'll just pick and play guitars around a living room or something. And just to be together with people and hearing things like that, it's just nothing better than that. It's just great.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you write a lot of different songs, right? You're a great songwriter. What is the songwriting process like for you?
Songwriting process is it's funny. It could be complicated at times, or you could get a song in a half hour. For instance, I wrote a song that was for when I was with Calvary Records on my gospel label. It was called "The Carpenter," and a really short story of how it came about. At the time, it was early on in my career when I was still trying to make it in the business, and I had to have a job, a regular job, and I was working as a carpenter as well. And I ran into a buddy of mine that I had gone to high school with, and he kind of, panned the whole thing and said, "You're never going to make it. You carpenters are always, out of work and in bars more than you work." And I felt really bad about that. And I went home that night and I started thinking about it. And also I just wrote this song about if Jesus was a carpenter, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. But then it goes through the whole story though of, and even the crucifixion. And then there's actually, he built a kingdom with 3 nails, and they actually banged the nails in the background as we did the song. And the funny thing is we recorded it in Nashville. And as we were recording that song, the skies opened up, and there was the most violent thunderstorm in Nashville.
Oh.
And Bobby Ogden was playing piano, who was the last electric piano player for Elvis, the last tour, last year. Bobby Ogden. Yeah, so he was the session leader, and it was a very eerie thing. But that song came to me like that. Now I'm a big fan of rodeo, and they just had the finals this week, and I love rodeo. But I wrote a couple of rodeo songs, and recently I wrote one. And I wanted to get it just like perfect, and that took me a couple of months. I kept changing lyrics and changing chords and structure. And it's called The God and Guts and Glory, the American Rodeo. And it talks about how in that sport, unlike football and baseball, everything, they pray before the sport,
Oh, do they really? Cool.
They say the Pledge of Allegiance, everybody removes their hat. And the only time anybody takes a knee is to pray. And I got all that in the song. But it took me a couple of months to get it. But I'm really proud of it. I'm trying to get it maybe next year to the Rodeo Association. I hope,
Yeah, I know. I guess you must go to Vegas a lot for the rodeo when it rolls into town.
Yeah, I got to make it next year. I really want to do that again. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
That's what I like about NASCAR too. I mean, they pray before they get started as well. Very few sports do that.
Yes.
Tom Payton has a question for you.
Sure, I do. Yeah. So Anthony, we mentioned you wear so many different hats. You're a singer, you're a songwriter, you're a Catholic deacon, you're a recording artist, you're an Elvis tribute artist. And I had read someplace that in each of these roles, you feel it's your mission to lead people to Jesus Christ, to lead people to God. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you do that?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I guess because of my love of music and my love of gospel music, which was fostered by not only Elvis, but B.J. Thomas had become a born-again Christian at one point, and he did a slew of gospel albums, very contemporary. And I think that just really that music got to me, and I realized that through music that I could touch people's lives in the same way. Sometimes I'm at a secular show and people, have no idea that I'm a deacon, and they say to me, there's something about you. What you seem like, there's some kind of spiritual thing about you. And it's true because even if I'm not preaching in the pulpit, you could touch lives by just your actions. I think it was St. Francis that said, preach the gospel always, but only use words when necessary. And it's so true. So the way you carry yourself and the things you say, whether it's on stage or daily life, I think it just fosters that whole thing. And I really love being with people. So yeah, the music and the diaconate had kind of come together. And right now it's really taken off. I have so many different news outlets that are doing stories on me. And now I got contacted by EWTN. They want to do a show, and that the show that they're going to put me on, they told me has an estimated viewers of 400 million in 100 different countries. So if I had a 10 for that, I'd be happy. But it's again just to touch lives and to show that somebody wrote in one of his stories. There's so many deacons throughout the world that are Catholic deacons, and they're from all different walks of life. But I can guarantee you, there's only one Elvis. I had to laugh about that. Sometimes they call me Deacon Elvis. So.
Oh, do they really? Now I know this was all inspired by a sporting accident, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
About what? What was that?
The sporting accident, right? That really inspired you, really, to become a deacon. The sporting accident.
Oh, the accident. Oh, yes. When I was younger, I was a contact sport guy. I mean, football, contact karate, boxing. If it was something where you're going to connect, I loved it. And somewhere along the line when I was doing these things, I had gotten hurt, so I wasn't able to move on from high school to college. I was supposed to go to Gettysburg and on a scholarship, and I blew out the knee thing, and that ended. But I continued the contact karate and boxing. But somewhere along the line, from a blow or something, my omentum, which is a flap that covers your vital organs, somehow flipped, and everything from that flip down, got no blood flow and became gangrene. And I didn't know this, and I just never felt good for a while. But I toughed it out. I was a young guy, so I just kept moving and moving until one day I couldn't even get out of bed. I was in a fetal position, and at that point I was a competitive weightlifter as well. I would say I was probably 220 pounds at that time. I had 18-inch arms. I was a big dude.
Wow.
And
wow.
my dad was a big guy, so he literally had to pick me up off the bed and carry me to the car and get me to the emergency room. And they did emergency exploratory surgery, and they were just like, we don't know what's wrong with him. We don't know if he's going to come out of this. And so they just opened me up and started, pulling things and going crazy. And they found that they had to remove the lower portion, but it was already it already had started to poison my entire body. I was full of toxins. And at that point where I had an out-of-death and near-death experience, and it was awesome. And in 2006, I actually wrote a book called He Said, Peace Be Still, about that. It was a short book because it was never meant for anything else but to give hope to other people. Most of the times at my shows or in church events, the publisher would give me boxes, and to sell and everything. I'd pay for the box and give them to people because they needed to hear the message that, there is something after here, and to give them hope, Right, and I never intended it to be a book at all. It's just one of the things that kind of happened along the way. But yeah, I did the tunnel and the light, the cliche thing, as you would say, and and I was in the paradise, and I saw Jesus, and he gave me a for better lack of any word, like healing, and that's when he said, "Peace be still" to me, and he sent me back, and that's what kind of led me slowly but surely where I wound up in the diaconate. Yeah, it's a really great story. But I mean, if I had a lot of time, I could tell you the whole thing. But it's a wonderful story. Yeah.
Right, so you got to see heaven a little bit, right? And angels. I know.
Well, yeah, heaven. I got to give you a few glimpses of it. What I saw is when I came over this wall. I lifted over like a wall when I came out of that tunnel, because I didn't know what to do, and I felt like I was in a space capsule, and I was just like floating like this. I landed on my feet, and I was in paradise. And what I saw was in front of me was a mountain, and it had a waterfall coming down into a river. And I call it the river of living water because it was so clear you could look right into the bottom of the river, and it glowed, gold, and it effervesced like Perrier or sparkling water. And then the flowers all pulsated like this, but there was like light inside the flowers. Everything was alive. The trees swayed in time. There was music, but I want to say it was more a tone, like a host of heavenly angels. I don't know what you want to call it. It wasn't real words, but that was at. My assumption was at the throne of God, because I was here and I could see way off in the distance there was a big glow, and I was never allowed to that part. So like I believe there's paradise, and then there's heaven. Heaven is the presence of God. I was allowed into paradise to see the glimpse of heaven, but then ultimately, I saw a flash of light out of the side of my eye, and I looked this way and I saw a figure start to dissolve into focus. And it was about 75, 100 yards away, and I realized it was Jesus. And the light was coming out of him like the divine mercy picture that we have.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I knew it was him, and I ran towards him. I was galloping, and I was so happy to be there, and he embraced me. And Jesus was like, I'm 6 foot tall, and I was back then. Jesus was probably 7 foot tall, but not only was he was larger than life, and his hair was like silver, like the metal, not gray, but he was young. And he embraced me, and I was so happy to be there. I said, I finally made it home. And then I looked. I hope I'm not going too long on this. Is it okay?
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I looked. I remember I was in his embrace, and my head was just about here. Like I said, I'm 6 foot. But my head was just about here on his chest. And I remember going like this, and I looked down, and I saw the nail holes in his feet. Wow. So I pushed myself away, and as I did, he showed me his wrist, and there was nail holes in his wrist. And at that point, I became very ashamed and embarrassed for all the things that I had done in my life. And like a film, it played out in front of me. Oh, and as I was feeling that, I mean, I don't know, I was like, I couldn't explain the feeling I was feeling. I felt so unworthy. And all of a sudden, he embraced me. And when he did, I felt warmth and light started to shine and glow. And then he said the words, peace be still, like he did on the Sea of Galilee. And I just remember going, taking that breath, and it was okay. It was okay. And then, he let me stay for a little bit, but it wasn't my time, and he told me I had to go back, and I did, and I just kind of made my way back where that waterfall and everything were, and I didn't know how to get back in the tunnel, which is amazing, So there was my great uncle, who was one of my favorite uncles, was standing there, and he didn't say a word, and he just showed me where to go. And he had passed, maybe 10 years before that.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And he was young. He was young, but I knew exactly who he was.
Really?
It was amazing. And I went back, and
everybody looks at their best, young and everything in heaven. That's what people say.
Yeah. So he was. I would say he was about 30 years old himself. And It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I came back into my body, and I guess I woke up a couple of days later, and there was this. I'm guessing that technology and medicine is better than now, but it was like this machine on the side of me, and they had tubes going down, and it was just pumping out this god awful stuff out of my body, and it was just going into this machine. And I remember that was like horrific too, But it all worked out, it all turned out.
Wow. Yeah, I love the article in the tablet here. It's the Brooklyn Catholic paper here that they did on you, bringing Elvis back to the chapel. Tell us how you bring Elvis back to the chapel. I know the gospel music, of course, was a very big influence on you.
Yeah, there's several ways where we do this. One is the fact that, this is what I look like. So when I go to the pulpit, I don't have the glasses on. I can't see it without them, so that's why I got them on. But because I'm close to the screen, I need them for reading. But even the Archdiocese of Newark, the cardinal there, they have dubbed me Deacon Elvis. I mean, when they have like retreats and things like that for the diaconate or the priest retreats, they'll call me up and say, "Can you do the music for the weekend?" And then when the poster comes out by the Archdiocese, it doesn't say Deacon Anthony Ligori, it says Deacon Elvis. So,
oh, really? Wow.
It's pretty funny. But so, like, for instance, this Friday, my son and I are doing their Christmas party at the Archdiocese with the Cardinal, and it's kind of cool. But when people walk in and they know me as Elvis, it's kind of cool. And then you get the look sometimes when people come from out of town, don't know me, and then you see the whispering, and I know exactly what's going on. But then when they hear my preaching, they realize this guy isn't a put on. I mean, this is what he is, And then maybe your family member would say, no, that's what he does. But also, I do so many fundraisers for the Catholic Church, or not only the Catholic Church, children with cancer, and so forth and so on. And so, again, I bring that spirit of the whole thing to use the Elvis for good things within the church, So whether it's retreats or doing concerts for fundraisers, or just breaking the ice with people. That's how he gets back in the chapel. It's really cool.
Wow, amazing! I know you've done. You were telling me you were doing something with Telecare, and I know Tom saw you on Currents, right, Tom?
Yes. I saw an interview that they had done on Currents, the Catholic newspaper in Brooklyn and Queens.
The Catholic television.
They showed all the work that you do, which is just so wonderful, Anthony.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So awesome, really.
And I want to thank you for sharing with us that near-death experience that you had. 4.5 years ago, my wife passed away, and she had battled kidney disease for many years. And after she passed, I tried to read every book I could to understand heaven and to understand God and to understand the afterlife. And what you just described is just so beautiful. It really is. I mean, the experience. And I was going to ask if you had experienced, some relatives or, people you had seen who had passed and what that experience was like. It's just so beautiful. So thank you.
Yeah, but two things I'd like to say about that. First of all, the piece was so unbelievable that I did not want to come back. I did not want to come back. And probably if I had to, if I would get the chance again, I wouldn't. I mean, I love my life. I love what I'm doing. But when you're there, it's a whole different feeling. Another thing is there were colors that we don't have in our spectrum. I was an artist as well. And I know, the color palette, and there were things that I can never explain them because they don't exist here,
Right.
But the peace and the fact that it's just unconditional love, that I hope you can find comfort in that, Tom.
I can,
that the really unconditional peace and love that Jesus brings, and the light and the love, it's just phenomenal. And I did see a great aunt of mine. I had two people in my life that were really I was really fond of when I was a little boy. My grandfather's sister, my Aunt Rose, and she died quite young. She was only in her late 50s, but I was a little boy at the time. And then my uncle that passed away. I was a little bit older. I was probably maybe 12 at the time. But they were my favorites. They just happened to be my favorite people.
Sure.
And they were left so soon in my life. And those were the two people. I actually saw my Aunt Rose as I was going into the tunnel, because when I was in the operating room, I did the lift out, where you see what's going on below. And then I started going towards this light. And again, I didn't know where I was going, but I saw a woman in white, and I thought it was, I'm thinking it's the nurse. But then when I looked at her face, it was my aunt, so I did see that as well. But there was no words. It was just like, go there, like that kind of thing. So I did see my two favorite people. That was about the only people I saw there. But like I said, it was a glimpse, I believe that we all basically stay in paradise, which I just spoke about, which is a beautiful place until the second coming, I guess, when we can then finally be in the presence of God. I really, even as a deacon, I don't know how that actually going to play out. But from what I saw, I think we're in paradise. We're in a place that is so beautiful, and there's no pain and no suffering. And then once it's all over and done, and we're totally healed, then we go to that where that light was and where the angels were, and then we can be in the presence of God the Father. I believe that's what it's all about.
Wow, that's beautiful.
That is. Yeah. You hear a lot about rainbows in heaven. Were there any rainbows that you experienced?
Yeah.
Not when I was there. No, I didn't. But like I said, the colors were just unbelievable, just unbelievable. And I couldn't even explain it to you. But amazing. It was just
amazing. That's such an inspiring story, and it gives really a lot of hope to a lot of people out there right now, especially now at Christmas time. What a great time to have you on our Christmas broadcast, which is awesome.
Exactly.
Yes.
And tell us about some of your original music. I know you wanted to play something for us, right?
Yeah, I can play a few things for you. I got a couple of things I got written down here that I wanted to mention.
I love Crossroads. I heard Crossroads. What a great song.
Yeah, I'm working with Jerry Foster. Jerry Foster, we just celebrated his 89th birthday in Nashville. He's a Hall of Fame songwriter, recording artist. He's written for anybody and everybody you can imagine in country music. Including the Grammy Award winning from the Urban Cowboy and everything you could, Johnny Paycheck, Jerry Lee Lewis, Mickey Gilley, Conway Twitty. I could just go on and on and on. He's written 400 songs that have made it to the radio. He's the most celebrated songwriter. And I met him, several years back when I was doing that theater thing, and he was doing voiceovers for me, and we just hit it off. And he became my best friend. I have to say that he's my best friend, and he's 89 years old, and he said, you're probably, the sad part he says to me is like, you're probably my only friend that's left that's alive. And I get that because this year he lost, his good buddy was Chris Gustafson. He lost Mickey Gilley last year. He lost.
Mickey was a great guy. I knew Mickey. Mickey was awesome.
Jerry Lee Lewis. He worked with all these guys. Even Roy Orbison, Tom. He did a tour in Europe where he was with, Jerry was working with, Chris Gustafson, Roy Orbison, Marty Robbins, and Jerry Lee, and they toured England and Europe and everything together. And that was the stories that Jerry can tell me are priceless. Sometimes, like after a show, or even if we're not doing anything, I'll take a ride out to his house in Hermitage, and we'll sit there for hours, and I just listen because I'm getting a wealth of stuff that nobody's ever going to know. He did write a book, and somebody's trying to collect some of these stories now. But Jerry Foster and I are a good buddy. So a few years ago, I had a song called Midnight in Memphis I was writing. It was about an old Cadillac that was in a junkyard. And I buy it, a guy buys it. And then it kind of comes to life when you hit Memphis, when you start getting to the outskirts of Memphis. And the car starts playing like Mystery Train and Hound Dog and all that stuff. And the car, I'll play it for you. I'm going to play it for you in a minute. But anyway, I had 3/4 of the song, but I didn't know how to end it. And I was reading Jerry's book when he has a verse, I mean, a chapter in there called "A Cheeseburger with Elvis." In 1956, he had a TV show, Jerry, down in Shreveport, and Elvis was in town. He was just breaking out big at that time. It was just 56 was his big year, and Jerry went out to see the show, and then afterwards, they happened to just meet up in the diner, and it was just Elvis and a couple of his cousins, and like Scotty and Bill Black, that kind of thing. It was that early days, and so. He had a cheeseburger with Elvis, and then when they were leaving, Elvis didn't know how to get to the interstate. So Jerry said, "Follow me, and when I get to the spot, I will put my blinker on and put my arm out the window, but I'm going to go straight." So Elvis is in this big Cadillac, and he's following him, and he does what I just told you. And then all of a sudden, he said Elvis's car just soon passed him and into the right off into the horizon. He said, and his taillights, like two cigarettes, slowly burned into the night. And I said, that's got to be
great. That's great.
And that's how we were able to finish the song. But yeah, Jerry is just a wonderful, wonderful songwriter. We play the Commodore in Nashville quite often, and it's only for songwriters, and you have to be invited. Just no one can just show up there. And so, yeah, I've done a wealth of country music and gospel music and writing over the years, and I really enjoy writing music. It's a big part of what I do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So play us a little bit of your Memphis songs.
Yeah. Actually, we released it unfortunately during COVID, and went to Europe, and we got a #1 rockabilly record out of it. The two of the bad things: we couldn't tour because of COVID. Right. And the second thing was to get paid for digital downloads from Europe was almost impossible. So, like I think it equates to like 1 million downloads. 1 million downloads equates to like $3,500.
Wow,
that was it. And then back in the day when Jerry told me when he had an album, say Gilly had a big record out, and Jerry only had the album cut. And Gilly's song went to #1, and everybody bought that album. Jerry told me he would make $50,000 or $60,000 off of an album cut. So just think about that.
Amazing.
I'm going to play your song. We'll talk about that.
Midnight in Memphis, right?
There you go. Midnight in Memphis. In a junkyard down in Memphis, near the Shelby County line, stood an old abandoned caddy with a cardboard box inside. Asked the old man in the trailer, I could take him for a ride. He said, some door is open and the keys are right inside. Well, I made the man an offer and I slipped behind the wheel. He slapped me on the back, said, son, you got yourself a deal. He said, you should have seen her when the king was in his prime. Then he winked as I was leaving and said, the radio works sometime. By the time I reached the city, that car seemed to know its way. Chapel bells struck midnight, the radio began to play. It was midnight in Memphis, Elvis Central Time. I could miss the train and hang my horn. That old car began to shine. I got all shook up when I heard the engine knocking to the rockin' beat of Memphis, Tennessee. And I reached the gates of Graceland, and the headlights, man, I swear, it was Elvis standing there at midnight in Memphis, Tennessee. When the gates of Graceland open, Elvis pulled into the lane. His lights blinked twice as I say goodnight, and thank you, my old friend. His taillights like 2 cigarettes, slowly burned into the night, disappearing in the darkness as the king drove out of sight. It was midnight in Memphis, Elvis Central Time. I could miss the train and have my horn. That old car began to shine, And I all shook up when I heard the engine knocking to the rockin' beat, Memphis, Tennessee. When I reached the gate at the raceline, in the headlights, and I swear it was Elvis standing there at midnight in Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, right there.
Thank you.
Unbelievable.
Great job.
Midnight in Memphis.
That's
Yeah, that was what we did. And I actually, the guy in the studio said at the end of the song, say, thank you very much, like that. And we did. We got on the record. And it was a great cut. Jerry produced the session, and we had all the A pickers in Nashville. And besides the rockabilly instrumentation, Jerry had the idea of putting a B3 behind it. So it really gave us some really meat, you know. So yeah, that was Midnight in Memphis. And Jerry's just a fantastic guy. I love him. And yeah, we just had his 89th birthday, and he's still rocking.
Wow.
He's just out there pounding him. I did another song that he wrote, what was called Sunrise in Memphis, is about the birth of Sun Studio. So, if you get a chance, I can even send you the link one day. I recorded that as well, but that was one of his tunes. But yeah, he's just an unbelievable songwriter, humanitarian, and friend. And there isn't a bad word said about Jerry Foster in Tennessee. Everybody loves him. It's that kind of guy.
Yeah, I know you have a show coming up here in East Rutherford coming up soon in, I think, January. January 11th.
We're going to be at Annabella's restaurant in East Rutherford. It's not a huge venue, but he's a big Elvis fan, and he tries to get us there every few months. And so we're going to be doing an Elvis birthday bash. Elvis would be 90 this year, so we're doing it. His birthday is the 8th, so we're doing it on Saturday the 11th, and I'll have the full band there with me that night. And we'll be rocking, and that's great. And I want to just tell you a couple things here. My coat that I have on today. I have a friend that does all my stage clothing. Her name is Holly, and she has a tailor shop called Dress Me Up. She's in South Jersey in Forked River. But she makes me all these suits, like, the nudie suits of back in the 60s and 50s and 60s. I have all these great cuts. And so she puts all the bead work, and I have them on the pants and everything. And even when I'm not on stage, she dresses me up. She buys me like Western shirts with, guitars and things. And she's just a great friend of mine. She became a really good friend, and she's like a sister to me. That's how close we are. And the other thing I have to plug, because you said it wouldn't be, my friends over at Hats by Grizz.
Oh, absolutely.
I have out in Kansas, Hats by Grizz. They're great friends of mine too, and they create these quality hats. He creates them by hand. I mean, these aren't pressed out. Yeah. And they're authentic. And this is actually a model he created just for me. It's called the Silverado. And it's a little more like, gunslinger type of thing with the crease and stuff. It's not like what you see on Yellowstone, very, big. It's got more attitude. But anyway, he makes period hats as well. He'll make Civil War type hats, different kind of buckaroo hats and different things. And he's amazing. And him and his wife, Joy, have this shop out in Kansas. I was blessed to be able to go out there and actually see him in the shop and work with him and see how the process goes. But they are just unbelievable people. You can find them, Hats by Grizz Made with Joy, on Facebook, Instagram. Same thing with Holly. You can find her, Holly Dress Me Up. And also, my website is www.anthonyliguori, Liguri, jr.com. And people can go on there and see where I'm playing. They can listen to my music and see videos and, all the different things like that. But yeah. But, I just wanted to give a couple of plugs, because these people have been so instrumental in the resurgence of my country career especially during COVID. I had a lot of downtime. And so, I really got to get close with Grizz and the family there, and also Holly. And so we worked on, stage clothing and hats and everything. And I probably have, probably 10 of these hats in every different color you could imagine, but the same style. They're called Silverados. And then Holly's making all these beautiful suits. So they really help promote my image as a country singer, so it's really cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I know I collect a lot of Elvis memorabilia. I have a lot of cool stuff, but you have the ultimate Elvis piece of memorabilia. Tell me about that. I think you're wearing it right now.
The Elvis Mike McGregor cross. This cross, back in, I believe it was around 72 when he made it. Elvis was in the hospital at the time. He was just basically separated from Priscilla. They weren't divorced yet, but they were separated. he was 72 or 73, but early on, I think they got divorced again in 73. And, Elvis was having some trouble with breathing and different things like that. And but I think a lot of it was he was just down over the whole situation. Mm-hmm. And so he was in the hospital, and Mike McGregor made two of these crosses. They're almost identical, but not exactly, because I've seen Priscilla's, but they're the same idea. And he was going to present them to Elvis and Priscilla. And he breaks the news to Mike McGregor that's right now they're separated. It doesn't look like they're going to reconcile. And so, but Elvis took both crosses, and Priscilla finally got a hold of one of them, maybe even after, it was funny when the estate, I don't know if you know, I guess you know a lot about it, when the estate, before it opened, they were afraid that they were going to lose everything. I mean, to keep that place open. And believe it or not, they were selling things like you would think they would have never sold. Like, for instance, like the Elvis, the peacock suit, or the red burning love suit. Like, some of these things were sold, and they were sold for even at the time, it was nothing, like even if it was $5,000. Though, if you have an Elvis jumpsuit, that if you could get your hands on one, I should say, that's the highest price thing higher than the car that he owned. It goes for anywhere between $500,000 to $1 million to get a jumpsuit. Right. Wow. So back then they were just liquidating until they opened up the estate. So they were having one of these little conventions, like kind of pre, the Elvis night down there and the candlelight thing. And Mike McGregor was there, and he had this piece, and he put it up for sale. That's basically what he did. He was selling it for Graceland, So he was sitting there, and he had all the what would you call it, certificates and pictures and everything. And my friend Don, his name was Don Dunn. He went down there and he paid, and he bought it. And I think he told me back. Now we're talking about probably around 1980, right? So I think he told me he paid about $1,500. That was a lot of money back in 1980 still.
Back in the day.
I mean, I don't know what that equates to today. But I know this, that I talked to a few people that I would never get rid of it, and I wear it all the time. But this would probably go in excess to probably $30,000 or $40,000 if it was up for sale.
Wow. Absolutely, sure.
But I would never get rid of it. It's like my only real connection. So I only it's just something I wear all the time. And and this cross, I got to tell you about this one. I just was in the Holy Land right before everything happened in Israel, and I got this in the town of John the Baptist in Carmen. And it's the soil in there from his village, Jerusalem Cross. While I was there, this is the Jerusalem Cross. It's got 4 little crosses around the large cross. And I got what they call a pilgrim tattoo. If you go to the Holy Land, there's a place called Raku, tattoo. And they started in the year of 1300 during the Crusades, and the same family still owns it. And they do what they call pilgrim tattoos. And when you go there, I got a pilgrim tattoo of the Jerusalem cross, and it says Shalom and Jesus in Hebrew. So it's really kind of cool. It's just great. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. What about your book? Is the book still available anywhere? Can anybody get that?
It's out of print. Unfortunately, it's out of print because the publisher, I want to say in 2010 or 11, they went into a Chapter 11 thing, and they had to sell off manuscripts, and I kind of got bogged down in the fact that, of course, my book wasn't a bestseller, but there were bestsellers in that thing, and so there was a lawsuit and so much on the dollar going on, and it kind of got lost in there. But I was thinking, I got the rights to my manuscript back, so I was thinking of maybe going and have it republished again. I would love to do that. I just never took the time to sit down and do it. And actually, I could probably add to the book at this point, since I wrote it. So many things have happened in my life.
Oh, absolutely, sure.
So maybe I'll revise it one of these days. But there was a lady that came out. We did this Blue Christmas service with people that are really suffering this time of year. Not everybody's happy about Christmas, and the Blue Christmas is not about Elvis. It's about And so we had a service last night, and I sang some music, and we had a friend of mine who's a PhD, and she talked to people that were suffering and everything, and we did that last night. And but yeah, that's that's kind of like with the kind of things we've been doing. So it's really cool. Yeah.
What's your favorite Elvis Christmas song to sing?
I like a lot of the ballads, but the most fun one to sing for you, I'm going to sing it for you right now.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Awesome.
Great.
I said it's Christmas time, pretty baby, and the snow is falling on the ground. I said it's Christmas time, pretty baby, and the snow is falling on the ground. You gonna be real good little girl now. The Santa Claus is back in town. Got no sleigh with no reindeer, no sack on his back. Gonna see me coming in a big black Cadillac. It's Christmas time, pretty baby, and the snow is falling on the ground. Yeah. You gonna be real good little girl. Santa Claus is back in town.
That's
Right.
great.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, one of my favorites is Holly Leaves and Christmas Trees. That's the one that Red West actually wrote, right?
Holly Leaves and Christmas Trees is a great one.
Yeah.
When he did the contemporary album in the 70s, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I love the other stuff, but you've heard those carols so many times, so everybody has done them, but when Elvis did that contemporary album, it was all new music, like If I Get Home on Christmas Day, Holly Leaves and Christmas Trees.
Great song.
Yeah. What's the other one? I just sang it the other day.
If Every Day Was Like Christmas.
Well, that's another one. If Every Day Was Like Christmas, but there's a couple from that album that are so good, that are very contemporary. And then of course there's that other blues one that he did. If I Get Home on Christmas Day, and then
what a great song. Yeah.
right. And then the other one similar that Red West wrote. It's a blues one. It's kind of almost like a blues, like I just sung. But he did that in the 70s too, and it's got its title very similar to If I Get Home on Christmas, If I Get Home for Christmas, or something like that. But it's a blues tone. And then he did that one that went on forever. It was one, I forget when he was doing it, but they were recording, and he says, "Wake up, Putt." The guy's sleeping. The bass player was sleeping. He goes, "Wake up, Putt." You hear him saying that on the song. That was a blues one too. Merry Christmas, baby. Merry Christmas, baby.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah. But yeah, I love those the 70s Elvis Christmas songs. The ballads are just really great. I really like them. Yeah.
Tell us about your Elvis live show. I know you do all the variations of Elvis's life, right? From the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the Vegas years. Do you have a favorite venue of his life?
I personally like. I just did a show in Tennessee a couple of weeks ago, and it was we did more of the leather Elvis thing, from the '68. I really enjoy doing that, which is we don't get an opportunity to do it all that much. But I would say I like doing the 70s Elvis because, or 69, but my show is more like Elvis from 69 when he came back to Vegas, probably through 73, 74, that era. I don't like to get into the dark points of it. So I'm still moving that way, like Elvis was moving in 69 and 70 with all the, Suspicious Minds and the karate. We do all that stuff. But what I like about it is that Elvis broadened himself as an artist. Of course, he still did. Excuse me. He still did the Hound Dogs and the Don't Be Cruels and stuff. But he did things like, for instance, Bridge Over Troubled Water. And I read an article where Paul Simon came out to hear the show because they said he's doing it and you got to hear it. And Paul Simon said, I don't think I could ever do that song again after hearing Elvis. I mean, obviously he did. But the arrangement and the horn sections and the way Elvis hit these notes, it went from a folky little song to really a piece of work, Same thing with nothing to take away from Frank Sinatra's My Way, but Elvis's became so much more dynamic.
Yes.
And things like that he did live, So I incorporate all that stuff in the Vegas years, which is really great, Yeah.
That's so awesome. Those are great years. Tom Payton, what else do you have for Anthony?
Anthony, do you have another song you could possibly do for us?
Yeah. Well, is there anything in particular, or you want me to do something out of the Elvis vein, or
What about your favorite Elvis regular song to do on stage? Your favorite Elvis song to do on stage?
That'd be great.
Gee, I don't know. I do so many
of them. I know. There's so many of them. People ask me that all the time. What's your favorite Elvis song? I'm like, you just throw a blank. It's like,
but I could do an original song. I played an original already. How about we do something kind of like religious Christmas?
Sounds good.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. Okay. Great. You know the song "Mary Did You Know"?
Oh, I love that song. Great song.
Yeah.
Mary, did you know that your baby boy someday you walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make this child that you delivered will soon deliver you? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would give sight to a blind man? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would kind of sway with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels cry? When you kissed your little baby, you kissed the face of God. The blind will see, the deaf will hear, and the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the dumb will speak, the praises of the Lamb. Mary, did you know that your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day rule all nations? Did you know that your baby boy is heaven's perfect lamb? The sleeping child is the great
Anthony Liguori Jr. Check out AnthonyLiguoriJr.com for all the information, all the tours, right? All the music, how to get that wonderful music. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us. We learned so much about you. We learned so much about Jesus. We learned so much about Elvis. We learned so much about you. Thank you so much, man. What an honor to have you on the show, really.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you, Tom. I appreciate it, and I'm happy that you asked me some of those stories, and so I could get them out there. And Tom, I'm glad that it gave you a little comfort, a little hope, and that's all it was really about.
Yes,
to try to get
thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you.
Any Christmas message for our listeners? Or I know
I would like to give a message of that. It's great. We can. It's great to buy gifts for Christmas, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I love to see the children opening up the gifts under the tree like I did when I was a kid. But we have to remember that the greatest gift of all was born in a manger, to a humble manger. That's Jesus Christ, and that was the greatest gift. And we have to remember that. Yes, we love Santa Claus and we love lights and Christmas trees, and we should. But remember that Jesus is the reason for the season. That's
absolutely. That's a great message. And also, can you give us, my listeners, a blessing for the? I know you're a deacon, so can you give us a blessing for the Christmas season?
Absolutely. Yes. Heavenly Father, Lord, I pray that you will rain your blessings down upon Jimmy and Tom today, and that you will, everyone that listens to this may be touched by the message that Jesus has and that he shares with us and asks us to share with others, Lord. Help us to remember all those that are less fortunate, the starving, the homeless, the sick, the poor children, those that have died and those that will die, and their families that are suffering. Have mercy on each of them, Lord, and help us see the light of Christmas through your son, Jesus. And we ask this in Jesus' name. And everyone said, amen, amen.
Amen.
Father,
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You're amazing. I hope to come out to check you out in East Rutherford. Hopefully I'll get to see you.
Hopefully we can get together. Because I know you're in the area at some point. Maybe we get to hook up one of these days.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was so inspiring. Have a Merry Christmas and a great New Year, man. And hopefully I'll see you in January.
You as well. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Take care.
Take care, Anthony. Thank you, man. I appreciate it so much. Bye-bye. All right, Anthony Liguori Jr., man. Tom, how great was he?
Oh, Jimmy, we could do this all night with him.
I could have done another couple of hours with Anthony.
Yeah, I wanted to hear a few more songs, but that was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, he's so inspiring, wasn't he?
Us all a blessing, too. That was really nice.
Yeah. I mean, especially for the Christmas season, I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas.
Yes,
it was such an honor to have Anthony Liguori Jr. on the show. I mean, he's fabulous. He's a deacon. He's Elvis tribute artist, a country western singer. He's done it all. And please check out his website, AnthonyLiguoriJr.com. Go there right now. Check out all his great music, his videos. Got some great videos on YouTube as well.
Yes, he does.
And also I just want to thank everybody for listening tonight. Cindy, the producer's out there. She's telling me all these people that are out there. Oh, wow, I got a big list here. Carl from Long Island. That's my buddy Carl from Westbury. He's out there. Brad Siegel, also in Canarsie. Thank you, Brad. He's my buddy out there. He's been listening to me since the PLJ days. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it so much. Donna Marie's out there.
My friend on Staten Island. Yeah, great lady.
Yeah, and Lynn Douglas, Marlene Rio. She works for WNBC, old friend of mine for WNBC. Also, who else? Tony Ann DiMaria. Wow, Tony Ann. I know her for 40 years. I went to grammar school with Tony Ann, and
you saying that,
yeah. She produces a lot of these dance shows. I did it. I hosted the Alicia show with her recently, and also Judy Torres just recently. So she puts together a lot of great shows. She's a promoter. Also, my mom out in Canarsie, Brooklyn, is there. Martina. I know Martina. She works with me at another company here in Brooklyn that I'm familiar that I work with. Martina, thank you so much for listening. Tom Payton, my co-host. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for having me
here. Thanks for assisting me in the shows. I appreciate it so much. Also, Cindy, the producer, thank you so much for all your help out there. And I just want to say, coming up on Celebrity Spotlight, this is the last show for the year. But coming up, Rodney Allen Rippey's going to be back here, Tom. I was just telling you. Rodney called me a little while ago. He wants to come back and do the show. And also, we also have Alyssa Bennett, Alyssa Rallo Bennett. She's an actress. She's going to be on the show. She was going to be here a few weeks ago, but unfortunately, I was sick. I had COVID, so I had to cancel that show. But she's going to be back in January. And so she'll be on the show. And Rodney Allen Rippey, of course, the famous actor from years ago. And he's producing a lot of music. He's got a lot going on. So Rodney Allen Rippey is going to be back here on Celebrity Spotlight. I just spoke to him a little while ago. He is a fantastic guest. And again, thank you, Anthony Liguori Jr. Check out his website, AnthonyLiguoriJr.com. And I said, he is a fabulous performer.
He really is.
Fabulous Elvis tribute artist, fabulous deacon. And you can find out where he is and just go to his website. And he's got a lot of great shows coming up and a lot of great music that you can download. And so make sure you go there right now, AnthonyLiguori.com. All right, Tom Payton, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, Jimmy.
I appreciate it so much. And we will check you out in January. Everybody have a blessed and happy Christmas and a great new year. And we'll start Celebrity Spotlight back up in January. All right, everybody, have a great night. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.